Just maybe not.
They're so good.
Sign
too.
me up.
Amoebas.
You know,
Is that what you said? Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one. Too.
They did mine, old one, yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Mhm.
He's got a good crew again now. He was up and down. That was a good crew there now. They did Daphne Barrett last fall for me there. She would say, you know.
Okay, it's 7 p.m., so I'm gonna call the council meeting for Thursday, January the 25th, 2024 to order. Before we begin our meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Welcome to those attending by Zoom and in the gallery. I would ask if you're on Zoom, if you put your iPad, laptop, whatever on mute, so we'll get feedback, please. Other than people that are speaking to the council tonight. And when it comes time for citizen comments, just on mute and we'll go from there. We have a full slate of councilors. I'm looking for approval or changes to the agenda, please. Councilor Osborne.
I just want to point out that the agenda for tonight doesn't follow our town bylaw for meetings and procedures. And I'm not quite sure why. But I'm wondering a couple of things before we go to approve it. Perhaps we should change it to go back to what our meeting and procedures bylaw states. I know in our committee of the whole session 2 weeks ago, we made a little bit of a consensus and agreement and that we would forego our CAO bylaw for the development officer. But I just think if we're gonna continue not to follow our own bylaws, this is just another one. I mean, I think we're heading down a slippery path. So I'm just looking to maybe move this back into line of what our meeting and procedure bylaw says.
Mr. Massey, do you want to respond to that?
No, it just, experience with most councils is you have a bylaw that says what shall be, and we make sure we do the minimum requirements in there, and sometimes there's extra in it. I'm just used to some formats through my history is that recommendations from other committees are always put on a separate page of motion, so, but we can change that, that's not, we can go back to the formal motion, it's not a problem, I've just gotta get more used to they're highly detailed, I've never seen such a highly detailed requirement for a meeting anywhere I've ever been. So it's just, even the large municipalities don't have such a rigorous format, yeah, it's not in something that doesn't even appear in a bylaw.
So it's just because you didn't have a chance to look at it?
I'm just
Okay.
trying to make sure I got everything that had to be on there, may not be in the exact,
Okay,
or in the exact spot you're used to, but I looked at it to make sure I got everything on I knew had to be on there this time.
okay, all right, perfect, thanks.
So with that noted, we have some changes in the amendments, I believe. Councilor, bring that forward, please.
So, okay, I would move that we approve the agenda with the following changes. Amendments, I should say, that we add 10D, capital budget approval. 10C, sorry. Account, and 10D, tax sale results, tender results, sorry.
Thank you, Councilor Brennan. That was moved by Councilor Pruitt. Could I have a second, please?
I can second.
Second, by Councilor Lewis. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you. We're looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing none. Moving to item number 5, we have 4 sets of minutes before us. We'll start with 5A, that's combined council meeting minutes 23/12/14. Any changes before I ask for a motion? Councilor Osborne.
Just a clarification. And that would be, sorry, it would be 9B.
9.
B as in Bob. The municipal capital growth. I have in my notes, that we were looking for funding for $5 million. But then I saw somewhere else that it was $1.9 million. I think it was on social media somewhere. So I'm just wondering, is it 5 million that we actually looked for the funding for, or 1.9?
I don't have that, raise a hand, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is Ms. McKee joining us?
Hmm?
I don't see,
Miss Richard may have the answer.
We applied for 5 million in the 1.9 that was in our CBCL report, and it was class D. So we went with the 5 mil as per suggested from CBCL at that time. So we did speak with them on the estimate.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought, and that's what I had in my notes. I just wanted clarification on that. So I'm not sure if that should be included in that or not. That we applied for funding for 5 million. So, I don't know if everybody's agreeable to that, I'll make a motion just to approve with that change.
with that in.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make that motion. Yep, I'll make that motion that we accept the combined council minutes of Thursday, December the 14th with the change added in 9B as in Bob, the 5 million, to apply for funding for $5 million.
Moved by Council Osborne, second, please. Second, Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question?
Question has been asked, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 9B, emergency council meeting, 23rd, 12th, 21.
Well, I'll make, sorry.
That's right.
There, I do not see a motion for when we came out of camera. I see the motion of when we went in. I do not see the motion of when we came out.
The amended copy has it.
Oh, I have an amended copy of the 21st. It was only at the,
Again, ready to show that. correct?
only have the 14th. Only have the 14th. Okay.
Okay.
I don't have it.
It's right there. It wasn't on the original, it was on the amendment.
So it is a council at 8:30.
Yeah, I don't have the amendment, so that's fine.
So with that, kind of, please to accept.
I'll make the motion that we accept the emergency council meeting minutes for December 21st.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, seconder, please.
Second.
Second, Councilor Perlman, discussion on the motion.
Question?
Question, I can call all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 5C, special council meeting 23rd, 12th, 27.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the special council meeting for December 27th, 2023.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, second by Councilor Robert Lane. Discussion on the motion.
Question?
Question, I can call all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 5D, emergency council meeting 24/01/02. Councilor Osborne.
I just, when the minutes were taken, and I was the one that voted against, the motion. I clearly asked that the minutes reflect that I was voting against the motion due to the lack of knowledge regarding the total costs. So, if we can add that, then I'll make a motion to accept as amended. I'll make that motion that we accept the minutes of the emergency council meeting dated January the 2nd, 2024, adding, adding where it says move that council direct the mayor to offer an appointment to Kevin Matheson. Adding in that Councillor Osborne voted against this motion due to the lack of knowledge regarding the total costs of the contract.
Was it not an extension?
It wasn't an
As opposed
extension,
to
but
an A.
yes,
Yeah.
but our extensions are nays.
I know, but it was.
It was, yes, absolutely, but I don't mind either way, like you wanna word
So
it,
we'll make
responding,
it as an extension.
an abstention, yeah. So reflect my abstention due to the lack of knowledge regarding costs, how's that? I can send that to
Yeah,
you,
need a motion.
that was the
Okay,
motion.
you're
I'll say.
already.
Sorry.
Discussion, motion, please.
Question.
Question has been called, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Moving on to agenda number 6, we have no announcements or proclamations. So it's my honor to go through a list of service awards. And that's the end of the awards. I'm gonna ask Ms. Richards to come up and extra day one, loves to do it. We have 4 long-term, hardworking, outstanding employees. First I have on my list is Aaron Richard. The second is Gary Fisher. The third would be Rick Smith. And the fourth would be Jeff Sibley. The last 3 could not attend tonight. We'll be in the picture taken with them either tomorrow or Monday, and that'll be posted. So with that, I'm gonna ask that our CAO, you will see on it. And, it's a big deal. And thank you for all your, I've said many times.
Well, maybe we should move, do you want me to move?
Oh, we're gonna go for the big folks.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I was gonna firebomb it.
One of those should work.
I'll clean up.
Yay.
At least a small speech, Aaron. I can give you the rest back of that. Later, but-
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun to have people be in the hot seat. Thank you, Aaron. Written petitions, we have 3 on our list. And I'll ask Councilor Osborne, do you want to add the 4th? Will they have the president in on site?
Shoot.
I forgot that. To be honest.
Yeah, that's pretty going.
We can do it citizen comments, or we can do it here. I think.
Probably we need, everybody's okay to add it.
That was missed. So that was missed by me, and we'll hear pretty quick tonight.
Mhm.
We have a citizen comment that was sent in, that I sent to Mr. Madison. Individual's actor here tonight and has given written to read that. So how do we want to handle that? Do we want to do that right now to make a motion to accept that? Or note it.
I'll make a motion to add it. And the email is from Cindy Young.
Okay.
I just need to find it again.
And again, I asked Cindy earlier tonight.
You got it?
I don't know.
Cindy, you're here, if you wish to read the top of it. Thank you.
Mhm.
So we'll add that to you. So we have a motion to add.
Yeah,
I need a second of that motion, please. Second, Deputy Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question.
President Paul, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Councilor. So we have, I guess, 4 now, written petitions. First is from the Nova Scotia Department of Justice. That's been forwarded to all council. And that's for us to form our own police advisory committee. They granted the request by Colchester to break away. So it'll be a process for that, we'll undertake the next few weeks.
So this will be on the agenda item coming up, I assume, to discuss further.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We want to do parts, and I have a call to Dennis Clancy on that, Councilor.
Okay.
The second, 2 are from citizens, they're reading your agenda. And then Councilor, Osborne, do you have?
I am trying to find it. I know I just had it because I just showed it to you.
No worries. The second one. Okay, guys.
I don't need it. Which one are you in? Cindy on the,
I haven't.
you know, I showed it to the mayor earlier. Yeah, yeah. You wanna read it?
Okay. Agenda, okay.
Yeah.
It was written on the 23rd of February, it's from Councilor Osborne. I'm ready to voice concerns over the proposed rate increase. I've copied other members of council. The increase seems very steep. I'm looking at paying over $500 more per year in the third year. I know the water issue has long been a topic that concerned the town, and the council was informed quite some time ago, so the upgrades were needed. What was done in the last 5 years to prepare for these upgrades? In the meantime, the town has been approving a lot of housing and commercial construction. To the contractors with these developers, if infrastructure contributions included in the contract. I would be interested in knowing how much that is. I ask this because I watched a council meeting last year where the concept of developers contributing to an infrastructure appeared to be a foreign concept to council, although it's a very commonplace practice. Are the apartment complex owners contributing? Is it on a per apartment basis or per building basis? It's difficult to have council approve themselves a 7.6 pay increase this past April, in a time when many residents were struggling financially. I pay attention to whoever the 7.6 and felt that the lower increase would be more appropriate at that time. How we get steep water rates increases when we have exceptionally high property assessments. Thank you for taking the time to read this, ma'am. I know that you care about what's best for the people in town, and I appreciate it. And that was signed, that's a young, was in the gallery. Well, that is, noted, it's in the file for the minutes. And Ms. Young, you can make a statement and come down to the next part of the process, which would be citizen comments, if you wish. Okay, thank you. We're moving to 9A, and that's the water rate study. Councilor Osborne.
Are you going to read the other ones into the record?
No.
I know one had asked
One
specifically.
could be also, I did not, I reached out and didn't reply, Councilor, so I'm not.
Oh, okay, I just read it, okay.
If they come back with an answer, yes, we can put in the next week.
They were by rating, so they will be I'll go with you, part of the official record.
Okay, yeah, I just see here, by all means, read my email at the meeting, so.
Okay, we're gonna move to number 9, committee recommendations. And the first is the water rate study. I'll pass that to Mr. Matheson, and we can go from there. Sir.
Okay, so the committee of the whole, we recommend is come to council. It is a difficult topic, as you can tell by the feedback many of you are getting in the community, understandably so. So if I'll grab my other notes here. So we had the rate, because the last rate study was done, approved by the board in September of 2019. And it was for a 3-year period that follows that. So we are due again to present the rate study to demonstrate to the board that the water utility is financially viable with whatever rate structures included in the study. So it's prepared by Mr. Oyster, Mr. Rooney. They're online, and we'll be able to answer questions when we get to that, or if you have more questions for them. So since that last rate application, there's been a significant increase in both commercial and residential buildings. Which meant council had to start looking at its capacity, future capacity, to provide potable water. So, and there's in the meantime, of course, as you're all aware, this last year or so, the inflationary pressures have been there, and on some of the cost factors, far more than what CPI would be, particularly in the area of chemicals. Coming up, power increases that are coming, and things like fittings have, more than doubled for things like that that we're working with. Regardless of capacity, our existing water treatment plant was commissioned in 1995. Designed for 25-year useful life, which was 43 years ago. That it would be expected to have useful life. We've been fortunate, it's operated quite well at this point. When it was commissioned, the drinking water standard for turbidity, which put in layman's terms is how clear the water is, that you are allowed a factor of 1, for good drinking water under Canadian drinking water standards. A few years later, it was reduced to 0.5. Now, probably, I suspect the people that designed that plant tried to make it, knew that something like that was coming and probably designed it so it could meet 0.5, and obviously it has. And since that time, the standard's been tightened up that much more again, it's down to 0.1. And we've been able to meet 0.1, but not with a significant challenges where it's surface water, because significant rainfall, the river gets very cloudy, muddy or whatever. There's lots of particulate in the water then that has to be treated out, and the plant, when it's at its worst, the plant can't do it. Our operators, so what they do backwashing and treatment, they watch the forecast. So they make sure that that water tower is full to the rim before the heavy rain starts, if they've got good advanced notice in the forecast. So we can meet the demand of total water, and then hopefully then it comes by the time rain event's over, the water starts to clear in the river, there's still water off the tower, and then they go full tilt, processing again to bring the level of the tower back up. With rain events and that, seeming, if we've all gone through this past late summer and saw that, so that becomes a worry going forward. Are we gonna be able to keep rebounding back quick, particularly with some extra demand on it? We've also been fortunate that more people, it probably would have been more of a problem before now, but we've had at least the newer buildings coming on and using low flow devices. A lot of residents over the years have switched to low flow, so we're not, the demand for the physical volume of waters per household isn't as much as it used to be. We're actually consuming about the same amount of water we were historically, even with more dwelling units on it. So we've been fortunate that way, but we can't go on much longer with growth without getting more, making sure we treat it correctly now, which means we have to totally modernize the plant we had, ignoring future development demand. And it probably, when you do those, experience usually is you can't, to do a complete refurbish. What are you gonna do when you shut down what you got and replace it? You've got no water. So really what you're doing is a refurbish means you build a new plant on the side of the old plant, get it up and running, and your old plant may sit in hot idle for a few years as a backup, but you're still building a whole new plant. Or the tack that was chosen through what the consultants recommended, let's look at groundwater, in other words, wells. Water that's below the ground, you won't have the turbidity. You may have a different treatment channels to remove certain minerals. So that's what the process, right, which means you have to build a totally different plant. So either way, you're building a new plant. When they've gone through the process, they did test wells in a number of locations. There was at least 5 test wells done, smaller test wells. The best quantities were where they decided to do a bigger well to make sure you could get the best quantity, and there is lots of water there. However, it's different mineral that has to come out, so the plant will have to be designed to remove those minerals. But there's lots of water. The good news is the volumes are then it can meet capacity as well. It will accomplish both goals, not just one. So that's why.
Michael.
Just 1 second. Could I ask whoever's on to mute, please? We're getting a bit of feedback here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Knuckles.
So we have to continue on. We spent quite a bit of money. I don't have the exact figure, but we spent money on studies. We've gone through 4 phases. We're still awaiting the final. And we've been questioning the firm. We still haven't got a phase 4 final report. We in the last 2 weeks, we probably sent 3 more requests to the firm, but the engineer who was responsible for supervising and doing the second quality control check has left their firm. They have to assign it to a senior engineer in Moncton. Now to go back through the reports and make sure it passes all their quality control, but they haven't given us any wrong information. And that still only gives us a preliminary estimate of the cost of the new plant. But to continue on the road, we have to go to the next phase of engineering studies and to do a detailed design of what that plant will be, the buildings, et cetera, what design the mains that will have to run to tie into our existing system and all that, and come up with a better cost estimate. And we need to fund that cost from somewhere, which means we have to go to the UAR. We can't get approval to do that without going to UARB. And so UARB will not let you do it unless you provide a rate study showing you can afford to pay for it. So that's why we're doing the rate study. So we're sort of caught in a cycle of information because, and their rules say they won't look at more than a 3-year study at a time. So we have to put it in that the cost is gonna be in year 3, that it will come in service. Whether it can be done, could it be done in 3 years? In a very ideal situation, maybe. Reality, it's 4, 5, or 6, because we still have to get all funding in place, to have the detailed design, go through the tender process, award the contract, hopefully materials are available to do the construction. And where it falls in the calendar year depends on where you can do construction as well. So we're in that. So what we're doing is we're applying this for this rate study. The first 2 years just get us to cover what we have spent on water to start paying the debt on the recent water infrastructure, such as Riverside, putting new pipes in there and some other things. We will cover that. So that's where that 9 cents is hitting in the year 1. But for them to approve us to go further with this and spend more money to get the rest of our work done, we have to make an application to the board, a rate application. And so the best number we have is the Class D estimate. The best number we have for funding is just what the current cost sharing that's in the program that's available now from the feds. By the time we do it, that program may change unless we're lucky enough to get it out before any potential government change. At this percent, we're hoping that we can do it. Just typically, those things become available because you get the line. So we would apply to the board and they would say, based on those numbers, that's where we get this horrible percentage increase in year 3, because we're trying to accomplish 2 goals. It does give, by putting that, it gives us time to do some other things as well, to try to mitigate it before year 3 comes.
Mitigate costs.
Yes, so either mitigate costs or find more funding. So, as was mentioned earlier about infrastructure charges. Council's gonna have to seriously look at that. The finance staff started looking at it a month or 2 ago. Even before I came, they were starting to investigate it. I'm accelerating that push up, so I'm gonna be in talks with our neighboring municipalities and some others. That, with a warning on that one, you have to go through a process, you have to come up with a bylaw, it has to be proclaimed, and then there's a waiting period even after it's proclaimed before you can start charging it. And so it'll only apply for people who apply for permits after it is proclaimed. So if there is a lot of development applied for before it's proclaimed, they will be exempt from the infrastructure charge. Which, unless there is something that prevents through the planning process. But you see, there you're caught by a lot of your zoning is development by right. It's,
Can I ask you a question?
that's such a chair.
You talked about Riverside for a second,
Mhm.
and I only caught half of it. Can you go back and tell me
Well,
what?
there's some debt that we applied for associated with that. And part of that was to cover water, and that part is paid by the water utility, and those payments start kicking in in the first year of the rate study. So you'll see if you're looking through the rate study, you would have seen the item there, new debt principal, new debt interest coming in there.
Right.
And then there was a couple other small things in the capital budget that caused us this bump in the first year. We would have had to recover that anyway.
I'm confused, because I thought that that's what the ICIP funding covered,
ICIP won't cover 100% though.
but that's why I thought the shortfall was coming from reserves.
Well, it's my understanding, without having gone back through all the details.
And I wasn't on council
There is
then,
debt.
so I don't know, I'm
there
just
is
asking.
New debt that is coming on board.
From that.
Yes, and that's there.
But it's the same funding, maybe 70.
Yeah, it was probably the 73.
So- If I, that figure from the budget we talked about last night, right on the very right-hand column where it says.
No, see, that's new,
Oh,
that's new
that's wrong,
projects.
that's-
No, that's new projects.
No, that's wrong.
Yeah, so there's a debt that's to cover what's been placed. It would have been on some of the 23, 24.
Is this the 460,900?
That's
Is
the
that
water
what we're
utility
talking about?
budget.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gave you the wrong piece of paper.
Yes, what was financed, yeah, from the 23, 24 capital budget carried forward. 460,900 was
Okay.
financed through MFC, municipal finance board.
Okay.
And that's
27%.
Well, I think 27%, 73, correct.
27%?
For the most part, yeah,
We're
pretty
paying
close. Well, it's pretty
27%?
close.
27% funded.
Oh,
It was 73% that we funding that we got, and
Okay.
finance the 27%
okay.
left.
So,
Mayor,
so
share
that,
you-
that
for a
debt
second.
has been placed, you cannot change that.
Okay.
That is, so that's what's driving year one, that's your main driver in year one, you've gotta start repaying that debt. So. You're in with that, so otherwise, if you don't get a rate study in, you're gonna go in deficit in the water utility, or the taxpayers are gonna have to cover the deficit of the water utility until such time you get new rates. Or the taxpayers are gonna have to loan money to the water utility until you get new rates. So that's why, that's part of why you gotta get in with a rate study. They don't wanna see anything but a 3-year. So we're gonna put in this project. And then we need to fine tune on the cost for later studies. We need to fine tune, find more funds, whether it's through infrastructure charges or something else, some other combination. And then,
Can we reiterate though, that if the water treatment plant does not go through in year 3, or it's outside of our scope of costs, then we can apply to the board to not have said increase of.
yeah, we can apply if it's delayed slightly. They're probably gonna say, just put that money into your reserve to pay, if you're already down the road and committed to construction. They're gonna say, all right, start collecting those rates, put it in your reserve to pay for the
By
work, because you have to make progress
Right,
payments on the work.
but by committed, do you mean like a signed document, and what's a slight delay, is that 2
Well,
years?
if they're
Like-
saying, what they're looking at, say, a year, say, if you can't get, are you gonna be spending all this money, are you gonna be spending significant amounts of money in year 3, and you know the total cost? Net cost is gonna be similar to that, they're gonna say, no, just put it in reserve. If the net cost comes way down, they would entertain having an amendment or submit a new rate study that we could apply to bring them down.
Or if the cost goes way
Or
up.
cost
and
goes
it's
way up,
outside
we're
of
gonna
our
have to
scope,
work.
Then we can
If
say,
it-
we
yeah.
don't need the increase in year 3, because we need to come up with something else.
Well, yeah, if you cancel entirely, but then. You might even be, you know, you gotta watch, you don't get yourself in an emergency situation with,
Oh, understood, I'm
yeah,
just,
so and we're
with
looking
the
at,
concern of residents, it's,
yeah,
there's,
we're,
you
and
know.
we're, you know. The other people working on this are the planning folks. Are there methods to put some, that legally, to put some brakes on development because of. But we're not sure yet, we're talking with Bridgewater, who are in a similar situation. So they're trying to find a way to slow down the development, say, because they have the legal right to slow down development until they get the capacity issue figured out. But you can't, I don't think you just can't say no indefinitely. You still have to you still have to come up with a plan to address that deficiency.
No, you go ahead.
So the question I have is, anything's in the queue now that doesn't apply to?
An infrastructure charge? Correct. Now, so, and with the planning side, you know, is, we're under tight deadlines. You know, you have so many days to apply to development permit. So we can't extend that, so until we have. So we really, anyone who's applying right now or wants something in the queue now, really can't do much for. But, you know, maybe if someone's coming in 6-8 month time, then you may, you know, you have something to say. Yeah, we need to put the brakes on here, or, and quite frank, and we're also, I had the opportunity last week to meet briefly with 2 or 3 developers. And I said, you need to be aware we have a water issue here, and I don't think you want cloudy water going into your developments. So that's where, so we're trying different angles at it, we're not just going at it from one angles.
But you know what? I don't like brother. It didn't matter. Yeah, he was criminal anyway. He got caught. He got caught. They didn't care what money. They're criminals. Yeah.
I thought there was a way to change that.
I thought there was a way that you could mute all.
For those who are joining us from external sources, could you please put yourself on mute? We're getting a bit of feedback and I just listen to your conversation, just eavesdrop, so please put yourself on mute. Great, thank you.
Yeah, so it's, oh, yeah, I was just saying, we're coming at it from multiple, as we have to, we gotta come from multiple.
Computer?
Okay, guys.
No.
I think that, doesn't he put something on the chat over at the end there? But he's.
Yeah, well, we can do that.
Just chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you get that another chunk? Yeah.
I think that's, that's an action.
Okay.
Just do now, now.
Just right, what if you right click? The sound.
That was on you now, so. Yeah.
So can I ask a really quick question? If I remember correctly. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Maybe some.
Yeah, go ahead. No, he's on mute.
No, he's on.
Yes,
No, can't,
it was, he said no.
That's it.
If I remember correctly from the meeting of our committee of the whole, it stated year one, we needed to do the increase
Mhm.
because we would be in a deficit position if we didn't. Year two, we would have a surplus of $50,000, and that would be set aside to help with year three.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why, since we aren't sure and do not have all the information regarding the water treatment plant, why could we not just apply for year one and two and spread that increase over 2 years?
The short answer, from my understanding, is the board won't let you. The board says, if you have it here, that's tonight, you've shown a need for 9-year one, put it aside, because we know you have a capital project, you have to do something. It's not that, this is not a nice to do thing, we have to do something fairly soon, and they're gonna say, prudent fiscal management, you gotta put money aside. So they're not gonna say, I'll only do 4% this and still have a deficit and then 5 the next year. They're gonna say, no, get your 9 so you don't have a deficit. And if you have a surplus year 2, put it aside because you have to do something.
Okay, and then what would happen with year three if we did not do that project like that? Cause
Well,
that's what I'm asking, can we
that-
just apply for year one and two?
No, they're gonna wanna see, well, we have to apply for year 3 so we can get permission to go ahead with the studies to find out what the real cost is. I mean, we don't have,
I don't understand.
well, we're gonna, to pay someone to do all this detailed design work,
Yeah,
we have to do land acquisition. We have to do all sorts of things here that's gonna cost water utility money. And we have to show the board that we have the ability to pay for it, and they won't let us do it. Now, that doesn't mean you're gonna spend the 12 million tree, but council, it is your right then to go back and apply and say, we can't get it done in year 3. We're applying, we're gonna submit a new rate study for 3 years, saying instead of year 3, it's gonna be year 4 or year 5, but you may be in the point of you're actually having to, even though it doesn't go in, you're not producing water for 5, you may still have to spend half the money by year 4. Just to get it in progress, so, you have to look at it in detail, every year you're gonna be, internally, we've gotta be looking at it. Saying, where are we now on the process, what have we spent today, what are we committed today, what's the current funding picture? This is not something we're doing and we're gonna forget about for 3 years, we cannot, or you cannot afford to pass this and wait till year 4, no, this is too big.
I guess that's not really what I was asking, I guess, and maybe, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly or not, but I guess what I was asking was, instead of applying for 3 years, apply for 2. Like, and then it's my understanding we can do that, just
Well,
apply
perhaps
for
we could,
2,
if we could
or can't, we?
defer that maybe to Mr. Eisner. I mean, he's before the board all the time,
Right,
every month he's so he can probably address that, without better than I can.
okay, that's great, that's awesome. But I guess I'm trying to understand. Because we have heard from many residents, we have many residents on tonight.
Mhm.
And people can't afford this raise. And if we are not, as Councillor Lutz has alluded to, and Councillor Roger Swain has said, if we are not expending this money in year 3. I don't understand how we can ask the residents for a 25% increase if we're not doing the project. Cause that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, but we're back in that because we're not, in an ideal world, the UARB would look at it as a 5-year,
Oh,
but they won't. They will not. So which we can get clarification from Mr. Eisner, but. I simply, that's what I would love to be able to, I would love to be able to say, here's a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Showing everything we're gonna do for 5 years and ask the board to approve the rates for 3. And we submit automatically before we even start year 3, be ready to submit a new proposal with revisions. I would love to be able to do that.
Okay, I know you sort of answered this, but I need to get it straight in my head. So this project probably won't really happen for 5 or 6 years. Right, let's say 6 years, we're gonna be starting phase 5 soon. So if it's not gonna start for 6 years.
Water may not start for 6, remember, the
I
project
know,
will start. when-
But that, if we had 3 years without the big increase, that still gives us 3 more years. And like, that still gives us a lot of time to try to come up with other ideas so for when we go to apply to the UARB in 3 years, another 3 years' time, we have found a solution, we have more money, we have like,
But there's nothing to stop you from doing it in a 2-year period. I guess
That was my
it's like-
that goes back to my original
still-
question, can
you
we
can
stop
still
it
apply
after 2
again.
years?
Like, no, you apply for
Not
3
stop it,
and you
but-
just go and you apply and say. For cancel our 3rd year, we've got a new rate study here for the 3rd year, 4th and 5th.
I feel like there's danger in that it would get forgotten or just swallowed
Well,
and accepted, or I just. I feel like the retraction is a lot harder to do.
Councilor.
Well, I took it from the way that, Mr. Eisner presented it was that I didn't think we had a choice. It's a 3-year plan. And so, you can't just do 2 years, you have to do 3. So our best, or their best analysis would say what the rate increase would be in 3 years. Nothing to say that that might not be lower, it might be higher, might be the same. It's kind of, my interpretation of what he explained was that this is kind of how you have to do it. And it's upon council to keep their eye on it and keep this top of mind, and I'm sure staff will make sure we do that.
But we may have a whole new council staff.
Absolutely,
That's my,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
there are
why
lots of
it's-
residents that clearly are interested in it, and I can't imagine they're gonna let it drop either, so.
Yeah, I think I can speak for everybody that maybe I am correct me, but a lot of calls are coming in, people that are on fixed income. 30% give or take, can't afford it, or the same can't afford it, and they're all factors. I have a statement I'll read afterwards, but, we have a hard decision. I wasn't here, and that's on me, the last COW, but I want to hear from Mr. Eisner just to get some more clarifications, and add to it, Mr.
Yeah, you can explain some of the process way better than I can. So,
I guess the question I have, what if we put it on pause and just kept putting money into it and then reapply in 3 years' time?
yes,
At this point, we could, if we're.
I think we should.
So, good evening, Mr. Eisner.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Very
I've
good.
been listening, so I'm abreast. Okay.
I wasn't here the last meeting, I'm Mayor Royce, George Royce, so nice to meet you and continue, please.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm listening to some of the comments and number one, the maximum amount we can apply for from the board is a 3-year rates basis. They've placed a limit on it. We're only allowed to, because we are estimating costs out 3 years, and so they limit us to 3 years. The other items the board is on is in any 1 year, we have to set rates that break even. You're not allowed to make a surplus and put it in an account. I would love to be able to do that for you and spread out the rates of increase that you have instead of having 25 or 30% in 1 year, spread that over 3 years. Unfortunately, the act is written in such a way as the board doesn't have the leeway to do it. It's not the board being mean-spirited. They simply tell us that the act says that we have to set rates for potable water that cause the utility to break even. So you can break even. And in fact, I explained to the councilors at the committee of the whole meeting that in the second year, we're going to request that they let us carry the rates from the first year into the second year. And we would actually be building a surplus. I've never asked the board to build a surplus before. I think we have a reasonable chance, since if you're going forward, to get their permission to do it for 1 year. But I can't commit to you that the board would even agree to that. They may roll the rates down, which mean we'd just be $50,000 higher. We'd need to borrow $50,000 more, because that's how much the holding the rates was going to earn in that second year. So as far as going ahead, I think the most critical question council has to answer is, if you don't go with this proposed project, which I have no affiliation with, then what are you going to do? Can you survive without doing anything? And I'm gathering from the conversation tonight that you're going to have to do something, whether it's the option that's laid out that we've been following in the rate study, or whether it's an option that someone else has. I don't know, but it appears to me that you have to do something to keep your supply of potable water clean and meeting the standards and meeting your demand, or you have to limit demand, one or the other. You simply say we can't allow any development because we don't have any water, period. You know, I mean, everything's on the table, but if you are going to do something, we have another set of rules that even complicate it a little bit more, is we can't bring capital items into a rate study until they're useful. Okay, so we can't. I can't phase in. I can't say we'll build a pipeline next year that has no water in it, and we'll capitalize it and make people pay for it, because it's not being used. Therefore, we can't include it in the rates. It's an empty pipe standing in the ground between here and wherever the new well field is. So we don't have the liberty to phase it in unless we can use each piece as it's built. And my understanding of the type of project you're going into is you've got a remote well field. You have to put in wells, you have to build a treatment plant, you have to build some sort of storage facility there, a small reservoir, or some type there to store the water you treat, and then you have to pipe it into the town. I can't do anything with any of those. If I build the pipe, I have no water put in it. If I build the treatment plant, I have no pipe. You know, so I was stuck as far as being what I could bring in. So we were stuck with, bringing in the capital in 1 year. Now, if you defer it and you make it the fourth year, then all that'll happen is the big increase will happen 4 years from now, not 3 years from now. I can't, and we won't get the $50,000 that I'm hoping we get in the second year. I hope I'm explaining some of the conversations I've heard, but really, the most important decision for council is, what are you going to do? And for me, remember, I'm a rate setter. I'm an engineer by training, but the work we do, Blaine, Rooney, and I, is we set rates, but we also set the rates according to the Utility and Review Board's handbook on rate setting, and under the act itself. The handbook is written to fulfill the mandate of the act. And like I said, I can't gradually bring up rates unless I have something that we're using. So I can't build a surplus for you. That's not the way they allow it to be. When we bring it in this case, it's going to come in as one bump. And there's virtually nothing I can do from a rate setting point of view, other than, as you've spoken, several of you have spoken, go like mad and get as many dollars as you can to cut down on that loan in the third year. That's the secret to it, is to keep that borrowing at the lowest possible. And in fact, we built the rate study on borrowing for works done in 23-24 with the hopes of saving the money that's in the depreciation fund to move it forward 3 years for the water treatment plant to reduce the amount of borrowing 3 years from now, so that it doesn't come in as such an even larger increase on a percentage basis. So I'm open to questions, but that kind of gives you a bit of background. That we do have limitations on what we can do. And like I said, the most important one is we have to set rates for you that cause you to break even. As the CAO has mentioned, deficits of the utility, if they accumulate, then we either backpay the municipality, or the town either covers up the deficit, which is not palatable in most cases, or we actually have to take it and divide it in 4 or 5 pieces and add it into the rates and increase them in future years to pay back the money that we ran a deficit on in previous years. So some places we go, they may have $100,000 deficit, and in future years we'll add $20,000 or $30,000 a year until it gets paid off. But that increases the rates those years.
Before Council Oswald.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eisner. You've explained it very well again. My question, you say it's a maximum of 3 years. So can we apply for a 1 or 2 year study? Like, could we apply for 2 years, which then would reduce the rates for our residents, where we are pretty much certain we won't be doing this plant until year 4, 5, or 6, which then would give us 2 years to hopefully put the development fees in place and have a little bit of a nest egg? Could we not do that?
You can. The board, as soon as you start this project, you're obligated to inform the board that you're going to spend more than $250,000. Okay, the board will then ask you for what the impact is on rates. They will not give you the money, and they will ask you if you've informed your customers. Okay.
So we could do that year 3, right?
You could, but they won't let you spring it on them. You have to start it in year 3. You can't spend money before then. So if you did that right now, I would have to look, as do you need rates at all, since we have rates going down in the second year? I mean, then you could say, well, I won't, but you will get in some issues when it comes to getting authorization to build this massive plant without having informed your customers that it's coming. Okay, and they will ask you, and you will in turn probably ask us, is what's the impact on rates when you do this? And because it's going to be quite large, they're probably going to ask you to do something. I can't say for sure, but they may ask you to bring it out to the public, that sort of thing, and say, here we are. Because I don't think they, I can't speak for the board, but I think they'll be hesitant to authorize a major spend without customers being informed, so that they don't get blamed in the future for causing the rates to go up at that time, say 25 or 30%, without adequately, because their ultimate responsibility under the Act is to protect the customer, not the utility. Okay, so their act is set up in such a manner that their job is to make sure that the customers are treated fairly, and that they're delivered water at a fair and equitable price, and that every customer pays their fair share for the service they receive. They really don't care that much about the utility. It's just a vehicle to deliver water.
I'd like to ask or add a couple of comments to Jerry's. I'm Blaine Rooney. I work with Jerry. There's the usual process for this, as Jerry mentioned, the idea that if you want to spend over $250,000 in capital, you have to apply to the board for approval to do that. So usually that's the first thing that happens. You determine what project you want to do, you apply to the board for permission to do it, and they don't have I guess they could have a public hearing on, but they generally don't. But they ask a lot of questions, and one of them is, how are you going to pay for it? So that's the first thing that happens. And then obviously when you build a large project, do a project like this, whatever it is, there's generally rate effects. So it's usually the approval from the board, once you decide what you want to do to alleviate the quantity and quality issues you're going to have now and will have in the future, then you have to apply to the board for them to approve it. And then generally it involves out of you. The other thing that I just want to mention is that even if you got 100% funding, the rates still have to go up, because part of the Public Utilities Act and the board's methods is that you have to start factoring in depreciation on those assets, and it's going to be a lot of money. We can phase it in over a few years because they want you to have some money aside when things start to break after sometimes 5 years, some of the parts. So even if you get 100% and didn't have to borrow any money, the rates would have to be affected. The amount, and I don't know whether the new treatment process is going to be more or less expensive than your existing one. That's yet to be determined, but it could. So just those two things. But you can apply for the rate. In fact, they may not give you the rates for the third year if you haven't sought approval for the capital spend. They may just say, we're only going to give you 2 years, and when you get ready to know what you're going to do, you get us require us or send it to us, and we'll determine whether it's a proper spending of capital money.
We're just sidebar here.
So, yeah, there's. It's just, that may have been a piece of nuance I missed earlier. Sorry, I think I was arguing slightly different with when I talked to them, but I think we missed getting to that Blaine's point, which is, I think, yeah, let's put it. We submit this and then we don't have the deal, we fess up that we don't have the detail and more or less give them the option of turning down. So they have the option to turn us down the third year, but will still give us the money to keep doing the exploration of the design work. Well, you're not gonna get the contract necessarily, they will let us spend the money to do the necessary design and tendering processes.
Yes, so if we put from the full project, if we put in money in year 2 or year 3 for the pre-design and all that stuff, they will probably approve that. But at some point early in the game, once the decision is made to go or not to go, especially to go and go with what, you need to apply to the board to spend the money. And then the question becomes, okay, how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah, but then we're putting it, all we may be doing is putting off the 30% to year 4. Or year 5.
Yeah, you have to be cautious of that you don't box yourself into a really bad year. But I think the most important thing is that council be committed to going forward, and that then we can try to build the best case possible on that. And if not, if something really horrible happens in year 2, you certainly can reapply to the board and say, look, we've had to abandon this. They will not let you charge that capital to the water utility, by the way, unless you get some really special circumstance from them, because you're spending money on stuff that didn't benefit your customers. So you have to be careful of that one. I mean, they can get rather picky on such things. So it's good if you have, it's best for guys like Blaine and I, if you have a plan and you say, look, we have to do it, we're going forward. We know we're going to have increases and this is the best plan we have to meet our needs for the next 20 or 30 years, whatever the time frame is that's on the horizon. So I can't really offer anything more. I mean, we are limited in what we can do as far as rate setters, but more importantly is that you be, be feeling comfortable that you're doing the best possible alternative for your customer base and for water for not just now, but for the long term.
And the only thing I would add to that is that, whatever, I don't know what the state of your current system is, whether it's, my understanding is that you have the possibility of, maybe getting, subject to approvals, 300 new residences in the next 8 or 10 years. That's a 30% increase from what you have now, and only 687. So, and you can't build one of these things in 2 weeks or 6 months. It may be a year. I don't know how long it will take to build it, but you can't snap your fingers and make it work. That's the one thing about the water system.
Any other questions, councilors?
Besides being totally confused?
So the question I have is, we do have the option, but the caveat is if we went 2 years, it could be pushed forward into a very high debt ratio year 4, 5, 6. Is that in layman's terms correct?
You could apply for 2-year rates right now. They wouldn't cover any of this, but at some point you have to inform the board that you want to do this. And if you plan on doing it in year 3, then the board's going to ask the question of what's the impact on rates. I've been through this a few times. That's the standard question. And the next question is, if the impact is fairly high, is have you informed your customers, and what's the general feeling? Is everybody content, or is there, whatever's going on? The board is a fact finder. They're not, they are very fact driven. Okay. They're like a judicial system. But they will ask all those questions. They'll ask how you plan to pay for it, where the money's coming from. Those are all legitimate questions. You're going to be asking them to spend, somewhere around $12 million for a small utility. That's pretty good for a fairly good sized utility. That's a lot of money. And as Mr. Rooney said there, Blaine said, it will probably take you to spend $12 million, given the types of work that you have to do, unless you really concentrate it heavily. You're probably going to be at least 18 months, I would think, from start to finish, and maybe 24 months to be honest, because first of all, contractors seem to be busier. They have more work than what they can actually do, and we also have some supply chain issues. We can't just phone up and buy things anymore like we used to be able to. We quite often find ourselves waiting for anything from tanks to pumps to treatment equipment.
Can I ask a question? So we have a Class D estimate at best right now. So you've mentioned a couple times that we have to tell the board financial impacts and how it's going to impact our customers. We don't actually know that it's $12 million, like at all. It's a very broad guess at this point. So does the board take into consideration that we're essentially guessing right now at a number, and that 12 million, it's not going to be less than 12 million because things don't go down in price, but could potentially be a lot higher than 12 million. So that we keep saying that we need to tell the board how much it's going to cost and financial impacts, but we're not actually telling them that because we don't know.
No, you send them your best estimate at the time, but they do ask to be informed if prices change. Okay, so you're not alone. Everywhere as we've been in the last 2 years, estimates, projects have come in higher than estimates. Now, I don't know how this estimate was prepared. When we brought it forward from its current presentation to the use in the rate study, we increased it by 3% a year from what you are actually sent by WSP. This is not the number, and our rate study doesn't include the number from WSP. It includes it plus inflation, because we considered that number to be 4 years old when we got it, or 4 years until you actually spent the majority of the money. So, but you know, you never know the price until the job is finished, is my rule with large projects like this. So you have to wait a long time to get that final number. But what you do is you base your best estimates, you base your future, your rates in this case on your best estimates and carry forward from that. And, you know, you may have to do a rate study in the future. Like I said, if you decided after a year that you were going to abandon this thing, that something turned up in the well that, you know, that nobody anticipated or something else happened, then you would apply for rates that would take the rates back down to, but you would be asked then, what are you going to do is the next question. You know, and that's not for me as a rate setter to do, but I'm just telling you that would be the question that would arise is, okay, this one didn't work. What are you going to do next? What's option 2?
Counselor Furman, his question.
Would we be in, and I'm not sure who wants to answer this, but would we be in any better knowledge position when phase 4 of the study is done?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the phase 4 is still gonna be class D. It's just subject, all they're doing is having their senior engineer review it. So I don't anticipate a significant change in that number. It'll be phase 5 before we have a better number.
And how long till phase 5? Roughly.
We're probably 60 days to get an RFP, getting an RFP out for it, because we have to RFP this one. This can't go on, these change orders, so it's going on too long. We're outside for that. We've got to probably need a little outside help to write the RFP, who won't be in conflict of interest, who won't be bidding on it. I'm not an engineer, I shouldn't be doing that. I can come at it from the procurement angle, but not the engineering angle. So I'm looking for a couple semi-retired engineers to help with that process. And, yeah, so and then that'll turn around. They'll probably, because probably 45 days to get a response, 15 to 30 to award it. So, I mean, could you defer it for 6 months making the application? We could probably live with that. But but we just don't wanna lose something, we just can't let it.
No, I mean, we spent money to get to this point, to phase 4, and also these gentlemen, you know, and the information we have, this is costing us money too, so I don't wanna waste it, but I mean, I wonder, would we be in any, maybe we won't, it's just a question.
So what, if we defer this to phase 2, the information for phase 5?
Well, even
Preliminary results.
Even-
Phase 5,
even when phase 4 is done, I mean, they may say 12 is, I know it's class D, I don't know, I guess I don't know. But I'll stop.
How long is this study valid for? Like, if we deferred this for 6 months, would we need you folks to come in and completely redo the study? Like, is there some sort of? Yeah.
We would have to update our numbers because you have a year end coming through that. Okay, and right now we have an estimated year end, and at that point we would hopefully have a first draft year end at least to work with, which would make it, you know, it gets more accurate, but then we still have to forecast the future. So when we do the forecasts, I mean, we depend on your staff to give us the numbers. We you know, Blaine and I have done a lot of these, but we don't run your systems. We don't live there. We don't have, we don't know the ins and outs of how the works department goes and comes and does all these things and the breaks and the pipes and all that stuff. So we depend totally on staff to come back to us and, give us estimates. We sometimes just ask pokey questions because we've learned over the years that if we stick the stick around a little bit, people remember, oh yes, I forgot to add that one in. I should have put something in for that or whatever. So that's all we can do to help in the budgeting process is really just ask questions to make sure everything is included.
That's Roswell.
Can I ask a question, through to Mr. Matheson? Councillor Creelman had a good point. So if we wait 4 to 6 months, defer it 4 to 6 months, then we potentially could have those infrastructure costs in place within those 4 to 6 months. And we would have a better idea of any additional funds we may be able to put in the coffers, correct? So it may be worth deferring until we have that. I'm just thinking out loud. So,
Just if it's any help to you, we're not the expensive part of this show. We don't count our numbers in six figures. We barely make it into four.
It's good to know.
I just want to reiterate again, you gotta get approval from the board to spend the money before, to start the project before you do it. If in 6 months you have an RFP out ready and you have better estimates, that's gonna go a long way to getting the project approved quicker than the more better information you have, the better chance you have of getting it approved. That's been my experience with the board.
I support that. Information is king.
So with that, I guess information, it's a little clearer for me, I'm not sure we're on the table. What is, I'm using the word consensus, some people like, some people don't, but we have this motion before us. How does that affect?
Well, you can, there should be a procedure that you can table a motion for, I don't know if you have, I haven't looked in your bylaws, just what the maximum time to duration table. Or you can send it back, or, let me put it this way. You could refer it back to staff. To come up with a plan of when we can have better numbers to revise the rate study.
there's nothing in our bylaw.
Okay, so,
For,
Regulations.
yeah.
so we're back to a rules of order. So you can table a motion, long as you have specific direction of when you want it back on the table. Yes, and so if you could make a motion to defer this for, let's say, 4 months. And we come back and we will say, either we have new numbers or we need, it deferred for a further 2-month period, say. Hopefully we have better numbers before, but probably iffy, but anyway, we'll have updates if nothing else. So, and then it's in the minutes, we have to follow through, we have to report back in 4 months,
So could we
if not sooner.
add development?
I was just gonna say.
Infrastructure.
We're working on that, we're gonna be working on it regardless, yes, don't. We all know we gotta work on this. It's, finance manager knows this is key to, yeah, but there's gonna be a lot of policy options that have to be picked as we go through that. Because are you going to do it based on zoning? Is it based on certain borders? Does it apply to infill? Does it apply or only to extensions? So there's a lot of work to be done there. So we've got to work on, so I'm already putting feelers out to the various municipalities. Had a quick conversation with one of them last night. So we're moving. We know we have to move sooner rather than later.
So I'll make that motion to defer, the water rates. I'll defer the water rate studies for it to come back to council. Can I put within 6 months?
It should be a specific date,
Okay,
at the maximum. So I think you want it back in 4 for an update at least.
okay,
We
I'll make.
Keep pressure on us as well as you.
That's good.
Counselor, you should add the word back to staff.
Back to stuff, yeah.
Okay.
So, I'll make that motion that we defer the water rate study back to staff to bring back to council with an update. What's 4 months from now, guys?
May.
May council meeting.
May council meeting.
I second that.
Okay, so, motion made by Councillor Osborne, second by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on motion.
Question.
Let's call all in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Unanimous. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Not an easy decision. Whenever you build a big treatment, new water system, it's not cheap.
Okay, go back to the agenda, item number B, that's the appointment of the development officer. And I'm gonna catch up my figure here.
I'll make, oh, sorry, I was gonna make that motion. Do you want me to make that motion?
Yes, Councilor, please.
Okay, I'll make that motion that we appoint Jason Fox from the town of Truro as the development officer on an interim basis.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, seconder, please.
I can second.
Second by Councilor Lutz. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Number 9C, committee of the whole, it's the citizen appointments to committees, and we have, do we need to make 4 separate motions? for
Yes,
that?
please.
Okay, so we're gonna make 4 motions for,
Each committee should have a separate.
Right.
Okay, in case you get into discussion on any one that doesn't, it's real almost made motion.
okay, with that, I'll start and ask for the first motion, please, Councilor Roger Lang.
Sorry, I lost it. You go ahead.
Yes, you heard this?
Okay, I'll make the motion that council appoint the Biaki Acker and Cassandra Swallow to the audit committee.
That's moved by Councilor Osborne, seconder, please. Second by Councilor Lutz, sorry. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed?
You could do this one
No, I
now.
lost my paper.
Okay. Any thoughts?
So I would make the motion that council appoint Melanie Haggard, Chris Pelling, Audrey Armsworthy, and Ian Gulliver to the Bylaw and Policy Committee.
Moved by Councilor Furman, seconder. Second by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next motion, please.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Biaki Acker to the Parks, Recreation and Events Committee.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, seconder.
Second.
Second by Councilor Lutz. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next motion, please.
I would make the motion that council appoint Todd Fleck to the Business and Tourism Committee.
I'll second
Moved by
it.
Councilor Osborne, moved by Councilor Furman, second by Councilor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Last motion.
Someone else better do that.
So I would also make the motion that council appoint the Deputy Mayor Chapman and Councillor Osborne to the Parks, Recreation and Events Committee.
Moved by Councilor Furman, second please.
Second it.
Second by Councilor Roger Lang. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's see. Second, catch up. This one, that's not, let's go.
Yeah.
On the second page then. New business returning officer. I'm going to pass that back to Mr. Madison.
I didn't, staff hasn't put this one on the agenda, so whoever wanted that put on could be.
That's me.
Okay, sorry, Councilor Hoffman, please.
I guess I wanted to have a discussion regarding our returning officer and looking at appointing an outside returning officer and deputy returning officer for the election of October 2024. It's my understanding that we need to have the advertisement and the appointment done by the middle of March 2024. So just with, I know the workload to staff, and certainly, I just think that there's a number of issues. I know I had some complaints, with the returning officer, deputy returning officer not being available during the by-election because they were in an audit. And, you know, we will have a new CAO very shortly before the election, so I talked to the mayor about this, and he agreed with me that maybe we should move forward with this now.
So that be a paid position?
It'd be the same as, last election, that's dictated by the election administration.
You have two options. You can advertise it as an employee, or you can put it out as a request for proposals. I have typically where it's just, quite often it's done with RFP, someone submit a proposal, what you will charge, send your qualifications, experience, and what you would charge to run municipal elections from start to finish as returning officer. And that you can even put it in the RFP, the respondents are responsible to providing the deputy returning officer, provided the council
Okay.
approves based on their qualifications.
Just to follow up on that, and I should have probably said this, County Colchester and the town of Truro both have outside returning officers. So we may be able to kind of ask them later.
Yeah, we did it, when I was in Mulberry's, we did it too.
Oh, okay.
It was, actually, it was a former employee applied, but they were very familiar with it. And I think they hired an internal employee on the side to help as a deputy, so.
Okay. And we spend the money anyway, so.
Yeah, it's to compensate for they'll give you a quote based on what they feel the time commitment is. Yeah, it's the quote's gotta cover all their time and commitment.
So they would be housed here in the building over the election period, so they would be available at all times?
Well, it would have to be, there'd be part of your proposal, we have to look at whether we have the spot. First of all, whether it's here, or whether they were
Community
going,
center
or whether they had a place themselves, place of business in town or not, where people could see them or. You know, we have to be kind of, work with them to be flexible on that.
So that has to be in place by
Yeah, it's coming up quickly.
March, that's gonna be for the COP in March or the council in March, the council.
I want to bring it council in February, if we could, but I don't know if I get it done 4 weeks, but we'll go by various. In case we don't get many responses.
So if the internal staff do it, they get paid an amount as well, is that correct?
It's done differently in different places. It is not uniform by any stretch. Some people, it's written in their job descriptions. Or, it was, in some places, it was the clerk. Here we don't have a separate clerk, but I've been in municipalities where the clerk did it. And they got, they were compensated for any certain out-of-pocket expenses, and there may have been an extra stipend over above just because some of it was outside of normal business hours, back to election day.
And would we need to decide, currently our bylaws is that it's an online voting election, there is no paper ballot, there is no advance poll, and so on. So would that decision need to be made before an RFP went out for a returning officer? Well, if you want to change it.
Well, you're into bylaw amendments, you're past, if you're past.
No, but the bylaw states that we can,
Oh, you may,
yeah.
it's not definite, so yeah, so then,
If you do nothing, it's online only. Yeah, online and,
But we can add paper.
we can add paper.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen with your permission, Mr. Mayor, for council's information, I have seen. There was a webinar. Last week, no, week before, my first week here, there happened to be a webinar by the company who was providing it for the province. It's a new company, new provider. Is doing it for HRM and the province, and municipalities are able to piggyback on that. I haven't satisfied myself. I have questions for them. You know, they have all the encryption, et cetera, but it doesn't cover everything at the front end before it gets. It actually gets, before the person gets online, I'm not comfortable yet. Just because I see what a post office floor looks like when people get notices, and that's,
Yeah, exactly.
I see people throw them on the floor of the post, someone can pick it up and at night can go online and find that person's birthday. People put their birthdays on their social media for some crazy reason, because that's a way for someone to steal your identity. So if anyone's listening, do not do that. You can get thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but how do you get birthday greetings on your wall if you don't?
Every day is your birthday.
But I don't,
Why?
but we wouldn't need to know if it was online or paper for the RFP, correct? For the returning officer? It would still be the
They
same
still,
amount.
most
more.
of the work will be, if it's
Yeah.
paper, there's a little bit extra.
Yeah,
There is that, at the polling station.
And if you have
Right.
an advance.
An advanced poll.
right,
yes. So we can build it into the RFP, the option.
right,
We'll quote it if it is quoted, it's not.
right. Yeah.
We should assume it's gonna be paper as well.
Well, even if it's only partly electronic, I still have the same concerns, right? So it's whether council is comfortable with that. It's not up to me to be comfortable, but I have to put that out there as a caveat that I am not sure their system, that dual factor authentication is enough.
So do you need, a motion for us to ask staff to do the RFP?
That would be nice. But
Okay,
it's on record, yes.
okay, all right. I'll make that motion that, we ask staff to prepare an RFP for an outside returning officer and election staff. And bring that back to the council session for February.
Which was made by Councilor Osborne, who is second, please. Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Councilor. Yeah. Number B, FCM attendance, and the first, just a heads up, you may not see it. That one opened up for, applying until February 13th. That's when we're gonna have the, for the, presenting. So we have.
Mayor, sorry,
Yes, yes.
if we could just go back to 10A for a second, I'm sorry. Should we not perhaps ask to have that bylaw talked about at that February meeting as well? Whether we are gonna have paper ballot or not, and then it can all be kind of tidied up at once?
So just bring that forward.
Yeah, but it'd be an agenda item. Sorry, I should have said
Oh,
that.
okay.
So, yeah, and part of it is to try to keep it moving. I'll try to get back on the AMA listserv and enlist the help of my fellow CAOs who've done before and rather reinvent the wheel.
So we have the policy number 207, subsection 24, for attendance at FCM, and it says UNSM, that's NSF income. No. So I spoke to Mr. Mattson about this today, and we'll look at it. I think the first part is the mayor or chief CO shall be afforded the opportunity on a rotational basis to attend the FCM. If both are unable to, the opportunity will be given to another council. One counselor shall be selected for attendance for each year as follows. Alder's council shall, at December, we're moving this, of course, a lot of things happen in December, this meeting. Place their names into a hat, and the mayor/chairperson shall pick a name along with an alternate name. The counselor will be given 1 month to secure holiday time, if applicable, and confirm his or her attendance. If unable to attend, the alternate council will be given the opportunity to attend. After attending one FCM conference, a counselor is not eligible to attend another conference in his or her 4-year term unless a vacancy occurs. So I will be attending the FCM. So I'm gonna ask for names to be brought forward for a counselor to attend and an alternate.
I would like to attend. It's my first opportunity to be able to attend, as this is my only year in this between 2020 and 2024.
I'd like to attend, I'm going to be there anyway.
Okay.
I'm as a family matter to attend the weekend before, so I'm gonna be staying.
So with that, we need to do.
I left my hat in the truck.
He says it's right. We're full of it. There's a lot of moving parts today. Where's your normal suit here, Counselor?
Have to.
Come on, like, snow.
No, it's only 2 days.
Recycling bin.
Oh,
Going for bus.
I was gonna say, one of those cups
Yeah.
at work.
You're gonna be
And I don't know.
And that's what's gonna be my question.
Yeah,
But
like, if
like,
we're not
My-
paying for you.
that's what I was kind of wondering, if that was the concept of it, is to pay.
Well, yeah, because I'm paying for my own flight.
You're
Right.
gonna be there anyway.
And you're not paying, we're not paying for accommodation or
Yeah.
flight.
Will you be paying for accommodation because Rochelle's now around? The registration of accommodation.
God is.
What's in the budget? Has anybody gone the last 3 years?
I have
No, but I'm council.
Counselor, no,
So
not to FC.
where'd that money go?
Just what it ended up in the bottom line, whether it's a surplus and then, which it's just an operating reserve.
I'm just thinking the same thing. I mean, I think we all know that we can't split ourselves in 3 when there's 3 different things going on. If you're already gonna be there, that's a less expense right there.
And no counselors have gone for 3 years?
Well, the mayor.
Well, the first time was, it was because of COVID. It was
Okay,
COVID.
right, yeah.
I went the second year, the previous CEO did not go in his place last year. So
But no counselor went,
at this point,
cause it's always been like the mayor and,
well,
or CAO, and that, I've always looked at that separate than council.
I mean, I like the discussion. Are we allowed to?
That's a policy.
Policy, so we can,
We can make a motion, cause it's a policy.
sure, or Mr. Nelson.
You're the chair. So yeah, a motion is, that's, that's it. If you have a motion and people vote that, then it's okay for 2 to go, then,
Given that, so.
yeah, it must. It'd have to be definitely a motion carried by council to allow.
Like, what's the registration fee? Just out of curiosity, even.
5 or 600.
I thought it was 6 last year. That'll come up.
It's been a long time, so I don't,
But
but
not
it's, yes,
astronomical.
No.
no, it's
But
like
there's
5 or
flights
600.
and there's
Flights.
hotels.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for.
Learn to eat at McDonald's and Tim Hortons for your breakfast. Because you don't have extra, do extra traffic, especially in Toronto. I'm not sure we all go there, but I'm fine with that. I use that word consensus, become my little catchphrase here, but if there's no objection.
And if the deputy mayor's agreeable, maybe we could find an Airbnb big enough, that's gonna be even cheaper.
That'd be perfect.
I'll make you lasagna.
Yeah, health actually the same.
Yeah,
I'll make you lasagna.
okay.
Should be a motion, or it is a policy, or spending policy, not just a consensus.
Yeah, so give me a motion, council, please, to entertain that, bring it forward. Yeah, so council's agreement to. What are we doing? We're not superseding.
Okay, so you wanna make a motion that's, I can't, I just don't feel right making it.
The council will be paying for 3 entry fees or 3 registration fees. 1 or 2 accommodations depending on,
If we do an Airbnb,
and 2 flights. And meals.
Per diems.
But a lot of the meals you can have right at the.
A lot.
a lot of the meals are included in your fee.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes, anyway.
per diem.
You're not,
And 3 per diems per.
my costs the last 2 years were mostly 2 nights only for a supper. The rest were breakfast, sometimes you're included, or you have an early morning breakfast, and your lunchtime is always given. You have different groups that are sponsoring or putting out events. You don't have to spend a lot of money. In a Toronto situation, $30 did not cover, unless you found one.
Where is it at? I don't even know where it's at.
Alberta.
The TELUS Convention Center in Calgary.
Oh,
I said Alberta.
I think with the flight being the biggest expense and we're only paying for what we would be, yeah. I think that would be fine to have.
There's not a major cost for them.
No.
And you have 3 people be able to split 3 different ways and go to 3 different events, because that is
Oh,
something
yeah.
I've experienced the last couple of years. You're trying to.
Yeah, you can turn events, it's
You
very.
can't, so this will be together and say, A, B, C, draw a hat, maybe whatever, but, you know, first day is not so much, second and third, I missed a lot. You stand in a few different places at one time, or two together, so. Okay, so somebody give me that, or give, the recording of proper motion of that slowly. Council agrees to.
Oh, my goodness. What do I say?
Well, what do it?
I would like to,
I move
I move
that.
that.
Council.
Council approve the attendees
For the
for the
FCM.
FCM as Mayor Lloyd and Councillor Osborne for full coverage and Deputy Mayor Chapman for registration, maybe I don't need to be that detailed, for
Costs except for flight.
costs except for flight. How about that, Angie?
We'll tell you. Okay, moved
I
by,
did it fully.
Deputy, no,
No.
I messed it up. Counselor Lutz, I'm doing smart, I got five. Seconded by? No, Counselor Robin, by discussion on the motion.
Questions?
Question that they call, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Just give me a long idea of that.
Thank you, council.
Yeah.
Now that's teamwork.
That's right.
Where are we, folks? We
Oh,
are-
my.
Capital budget.
There's no bylaw, you see.
Tax-
We're on the capital budget.
And see, which, okay. So you have in your package to spot forward, and see which is capital budget approval,
That's what I just done.
and if there's, all right, let's see that.
So. And I ask a question. I'm wondering if this shouldn't be deferred since we kind of deferred the rate, water rate study. So I'm just wondering if it shouldn't just be deferred to February's committee of the whole to reflect the 12
there's no
million.
need to defer the 24-25, which is
Right.
the only one that has actual spending effect.
Right, right. Okay.
The 3-year budget is only a tentative plan. It does not allow you to spend money.
Right,
So,
okay,
so you can pass these motions as they are,
okay,
because it does, all you're committing for a budget is 24-25.
okay.
And that this is, right now is your capital plan for the 3-year period. And that gets revised every year automatically before you approve the next year's.
But didn't you already say that we wouldn't be doing the water treatment plant in year 3?
Well, you may be spending the initial sums of money, and in our budget, we may start showing it.
Okay.
Different than how you presented in the rate stuff, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because, I'm sorry that's confusing, but just the regulatory environment is a
Okay.
different environment than a budgetary one, because the cash goes in and out at different times.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Counselor,
I could make the motion. So I would move that council approves the 2024-2025 capital budget totaling 600. And general capital budget, excuse me, totaling $680,000 as presented.
that was moved by Counselor Brim, seconder, Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
I have a question. Is it general? Is it general capital? Why do I have? Okay, sorry, I thought it was water, sorry,
It is general capital.
It's the first motion.
the first one. This is general? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Waters, yeah.
That's, okay, sorry.
No worries, okay, pause back, discussion on the motion.
Question.
President has been called, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay, and the engine number D.
No, we're still on all these, there's a series of motions
I jumped
here.
ahead here, didn't I?
Yeah.
What reason? Oh,
So now it's the 25 to 28 general capital budget.
So I'll move that council approves the 2025-2028 general capital budgets totaling $5,995,000.
move by Counselor Brim, the seconder, please.
I can second.
Counselor Lutz, discussion on the motion.
Question.
President has been called, all in favor? Opposed, so moved. Next motion, please.
I so moved that council approves the 2024-2025 water utility capital budget totaling 40,000 as presented.
Moved by Councilor Roger Lane.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next motion, please.
I have a problem with this, I'm sorry.
Okay, voice it out to the council.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
I guess I'm just really concerned because we've had a lot of discussion on the 12 million, and is it gonna be 12 or is it gonna be 20 years? And I understand that there's no money spent. For me, it's the transparency and what it looks like. It looks like we're going to be spending this money.
That's why I asked last night what exactly we will be approving, and it's, yeah, and she said not to spend the money, it's to move it forward to the plan.
We need a plan to do something.
Yeah. It's like just kind of the concept map of what we're moving towards.
There's lots in.
Yeah, we need to move to a new water plant as well.
Yeah.
Is all you're saying that is we're moving towards a new water plant, that we're not just dropping it and ignoring it, and we need something in there to be able to move forward.
I'd make the motion that council approves the 2025-2028 water utility capital budget totaling $12 million as presented.
Moved by Councilor Freeman, a seconder, please. Second by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, record to show, if my math here, 6, 2, 1, no. Thank you, Councilor.
Well, I will point out on your meetings bylaw, which may need to be revised. Nothing meetings bylaw says you record the number of votes. And it's very rare to record number of votes unless, but your option is under normal rules of order, if a councillor must make a motion to have a recorded vote whereby everybody's vote is recorded
Right,
for and against, otherwise you shouldn't have
right.
numbers in. It's a motion. If the majority passes, it is still a motion of council binding on all of them.
I think it's been practiced though. It's been practiced since I've been at the table back
I know
in
you want-
2010. Yeah, I am. I sure am.
Telling you that's.
I am.
Saying we don't do that.
I sure am. It doesn't say that we don't. It's silent. It's silent, I do believe, isn't it?
What you says, it's usually minutes shall record with the motion carried, I think something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
silent.
It's not,
Been
well,
saying unanimous or if there was
Yeah,
an
it's-
opposed.
yeah.
It's silent.
Normal rules of what, like, if you follow board, it's just a motion that carried is a motion that's carried, it's irrelevant, that report against.
So we had a situation where the incorrect number is supposed to be the other,
Yeah, it could, well, no, because it said 4-4.
yeah, that's it, that-
That had to be adjusted just because then it wouldn't be a carried motion, it would be a defeated
Okay.
motion.
I'll be honest.
By
Well, we
definition.
don't have that many people.
That's right. You don't have to-
I know.
Thank you.
But I was that motion bring that 24, so that means therefore that what was done.
Oh my God, I was like, oh, it's good on.
Yes.
So noted. In the minutes. Okay, now we move forward to, where am I here, mentioning the folks?
Indeed,
Indeed, that's the,
tax sale.
that's the vendor, please. Have that in your package? Before I move for a motion, any discussion?
No,
Okay, got a motion, please.
sure. For motion stuff.
So I so move that town council accept the highest bid of $30,250 from M. Calder for the tax sale of 50 St. Andrew Street in Subiac, Nova Scotia.
That was moved by Council Roger Lane,
Oh.
seconded, seconded by Council Osborne. Excuse me, discussion on the motion.
Questions?
If that's the call, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, we have nothing. No, Council Freeman in this one.
No.
We have, I'm sorry.
That's like
Oh.
recruiting updates number 16.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're moving into bylaw and policies. We have nothing on the front board. We're gonna move into citizen comments. I'm gonna check online and note that citizen had left the gallery previously.
We can read out the chat.
So if anybody wants to unmute and bring your comments forward from the that are on Zoom, this would be a kind of.
Should we be reading out the chat?
I didn't know, to be honest.
That didn't happen during that period, so.
During-
It's kind of-
Okay.
So I'll call a second time for anyone to bring forward
You're done.
citizen comments.
Yeah, well, not everyone will agree.
No one's.
Well, that's the third time. Anyone to bring forward citizen comments? Okay. We'll move on to my report. Should be brief tonight. I attended the MP breakfast with Dr. Stephen Ellis, presented the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce with Deputy Mayor Chapman and Councillor Osborne. Chaired and attended the Planning and Advisory Committee meeting, attended 2 hiring committee meetings, attended the tax tender bill opening, attended the capital budget discussion, and have set routine with Mr. Madison to do a briefing, and every second Thursday we'll meet and go through the agenda, so we can have that in place for council by Friday. And then bring that forward for final by Monday, if you could. That is my report. Council, please, I'll start my right tonight, Councilor Prince. Can you say something?
Just a couple things, in addition to normal, committee work, the marketing levy is moving forward. Aaron and I met with staff of Truro and Colchester, on the next steps, and there will be some more meetings coming up. Colchester County will collect any levy, revenue on our behalf. So that's nice, saves our staff some work, and they're working towards the levy starting April 1st. And I think that's it. Just one other thing, just a suggestion, I think, on the next future newsletters. If maybe we can expand a bit on some of the information about the water and all of that kind of stuff, just to, I know some of the comments, people are obviously concerned, and sometimes some of their information isn't correct, so I think if we can get it from the source, would be maybe helpful. And I want to congratulate our staff on the 4 staff for achieving their milestones. Appreciate having them here,
Even their shot.
even when they're shy.
Councilor,
Nothing.
Councilor Osborne.
Actually, I don't have a whole lot. Attended the budget meeting with everyone else. Wanted to congratulate the 4 staff. I want to say that's a great suggestion from Councillor Perlman to expand the newsletter. And I just hope that people attend the public participation meeting that's scheduled for February the 10th from 2 to 4 at the community center.
Councilor Ramsey.
Congratulations, Aaron. I'll see you on guys, but that's it.
Milestone. Councilor Roots.
Yeah, to the Under Service Award, and good meeting tonight, team, lots of good discussions, great. Good.
Deputy Mayor.
I attended the MP's breakfast, the RFP opening on the 18th, the planning advisory committee meeting, a couple of HR meetings. And again, congratulations to Aaron and the other 3 staff who have reached their milestones.
Thank you. With that, we're gonna move into the CEO report. Mr. Madison, please.
I provided one in writing, so I'm not gonna repeat it all. The usual slate of meetings, we've been making some contacts outside neighboring municipalities, some of the outside boards, a couple preliminary contacts there just to get up to date on what's going on regionally. Have met some local business people as well. And trying to get some orientation done around all the other busyness of dealing with these studies. I'm not near as far along as I would like to be on that. I still need to get out and meet more with the public works staff. I had a great drive around with the superintendent. We spent most of an afternoon just really, it was very helpful to me, just to get my eyes on things. I have to do the same with the recreation folks and what they're doing, we'll get my eyes on everything there and on what's going on. You have a staff are doing a great job here, you know, you were down 2 people for a while, not just the CEO, vacant office position, so they really stepped up and kept things moving, I can't say enough. And I can't say how I appreciate dealing with them, they're fairly knowledgeable on the history of issues. They just don't take my word for, if I say something, they freely disagree, and I love that. So we have, it's open dialogue, so we push back and forth with each other, so it makes everyone better when we can do that. And that's something that I hope will continue long after I'm gone, is that you get that relationship working on staff, they feel they can push each other, to bigger and better things, and know they have each other's back, which they do right now, so. So we're gonna go on that, a lot of review of policy bylaws, statements, budgets, engineering studies, so I'm just, a lot of reading and trying to catch up on stuff, trying to remember how to speed read.
Didn't you say you have a problem sleeping? Didn't you say you have a problem sleeping?
Yes. But those stuff only make me, if I really get into that stuff, then I am white, so, there's other stuff that will put me to sleep quicker than that, so. I'll get accounting handbook set for my professional development, so. That's basically where we are in that, and it's been a pleasure, getting to meet you all and getting to know you, so. You know, trying to keep things moving along until we get the permanent, position in place.
And I want to note, it's been a pleasure to work with Mr. Mathis so far in my role, and it's, nice to hear the positivity from our staff, and, you know, we always need to move forward, and let's just keep building the team atmosphere. So, thank you, sir. 16, CEO recruitment update.
So, we have the.
It's on this, it's on this, it's right here. I did the same thing, so. Yeah, so not in the pen.
So we had the proposal, request for post went out, they came back, page here. So they came back January 9th, so the rate proposal proceed with a, we're recommending, just so you know, with, fastened by Roy Thompson, they were at 20,350 plus HST, but we didn't just value on price, which you should never do when you're buying services opposed to commodities. It's bad procurement to go solely on price, so you need to demonstrate value. So what we did is we assigned 35% of scoring to price and 65% to the proposals. So making sure they understood the scope of work, that they had their insurance, liability insurance in place, that they were gonna give us a 1-year guarantee of the position.
Yeah.
There were some other, some other factors, just general quality, looking at the proposal, but their approach to things. Is it a team? Is it one person? Is it, what they're bringing to the table? The back page has the list of the 8 companies and what the price was, but say that's only one factor. So, you would see the low price, but the proposal was fairly non-compliant. It even had another company's name that they were bidding on the front page, and I am not sure whether the proposal even knew what they were bidding on with what they sent us.
The lowest one you said?
Yes, if something part of it was referring to something from the city of San Gabriel. For a web design, and part of it was referring to ours, so we were not gonna consider it any further once we saw that. And then and by the time you take a couple of the 2 highest priced ones, but the way I do the value is the lowest price would get 35 points. The highest price got 5 only because it was less than 50% of the salary you're hiring for. You said, well, you give at least 5 points for that, and then whatever the difference was, I prorated across the unallocated points. So the two high ones, they couldn't make up enough gap. After the cost, no matter how good the proposal, even if they scored perfect on proposal, wouldn't be the highest ones. So then we were looking at the other ones and then they were all in a broad, there's a couple probably a little lower, but then we were down to about 5 in a broad range. But the top two were very close when we scored them out. So, which was, Fire Talent from St. John's, Newfoundland. And, Facet by Roy Thompson out of Halifax. Proposals, very good quality proposals by both. The Newfoundland one was probably a little bit lower price. But it's probably because they were proposing to do most of the work over video conference, telephone, et cetera. And I think the committee felt that they wanted some more in person. And so then, you know, by the time you get the company from St. John's had to tell them it puts them basically on the same cost factor. So, and then I called both companies for a couple clarification questions. The committee said we really like Facet by Roy Thompson. And I know they had recently done a recruitment for the town of Bridgewater, just started in January for the position, so we know it's recent, so they have a list of candidates. That was a deputy CAO position, so Bridgewater being a much larger town, the deputy, someone will call a deputy there might be a good choice there, so they have names. And so I called the CAO today, I finally got a call back from the CAO of the town of Bridgewater and said, what could that company bring? What they liked was they brought names. The town had gone out and advertised in the papers, all the job sites, Career Beacon, Indeed, LinkedIn. They've gone through 2 rounds, weren't getting quality candidates. The Facet by Roy Thompson brought them 4 good candidates on a short list. They picked 3 to interview, 2 were really good and they hired one. And that's what they said, that's where the difference is they brought people outside the normal advertising. They went and cold call people. If they didn't have someone in their database, they keep a database of people, as they described me, but they didn't necessarily, they started cold calling people they thought might be looking. And are you looking to move? Are you interested in taking this step? So that's the type of work they do on behalf, which I think in tight markets like today is good. And when the committee felt the same, I think that that's what you wanted to see. So that's why the recommendation is there for Facet by Roy Thompson.
Can I just ask a quick question? The motion is for 20,350 plus HST. But the number on the back is 19,500.
Well, did I take it off? I might have taken off the tender opening, which had the HSP.
So I'm wondering when we go to make the motion, what the
Yeah.
correct
Yeah, so it should be the 19.5 plus
plus
HST
HST.
plus disbursements. Any advertising they do will be on top of that as well, but they're out of pocket, which we would have to do anyway if we did it.
Right.
So that's the incremental cost. And a bit of travel just from Halifax to here to attend meetings.
Can I ask a quick question? Just because I didn't see the RFP, I think I talked to you about that before. I know when we went through this process a short time ago, that the recruiter kind of did a survey of all council. Was that part of the package?
Well, there's a preliminary, their proposal is to come
Okay,
and meet with either council or the committee to say, is this job description correct? Is this what you want the job
Okay.
description to be?
okay,
And we know there's changes that have to be made.
okay.
We're gonna take the, development officer piece of it. Right, for example.
Yeah.
What type of fit? They need to find, their job is to find fit for you as well. So it's not just what's on a piece of paper.
Okay, so that we may get a survey.
You have to,
similar
well, it's
to that.
not so much surveys, they wanna have a conversation.
Oh, okay,
Because the
perfect.
conversation
Sure.
is what's important? Is it staff development? Is it policy? Is it, in what combinations of
Column
things?
bylaws.
Yeah, so exactly, there's lots of, CEO is such a broad range, you need to really look at what you're looking for, fit. And fit with the community, not just council, fit with the community, is it gonna be someone that's interested in semi-rural Nova Scotia, not, it's not, you're not looking for someone that's wanting to be in a big city, it's someone that's gonna be comfortable with more of a rural, life, working in that, trying to understand the needs of the people in that type of situation.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great.
Okay, before I ask the motion, any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, unless I have a motion, please.
I'll make,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that, town council. Excuse me, that we, that the firm of Facet by Royer Thompson be engaged to complete the executive recruitment, the permanent CAO to the town of Stuart. For their proposal dated January 9th, 2024, at a quote price of $19,500 plus HST and disbursement.
Moved by Council Brennan, second by second. Second Deputy Mayor Jen, this call on motion.
Question.
President McCall, all in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? So moved.
We did say 19.5, right?
Okay, we have no in camera. Notice a motion reconsidering. Hearing none. 9:06, we are adjourned.
Oh, wow.
It's been, let's look at that clock.
You would have been asleep. You would have been asleep an hour ago.
Yeah, I was.
You're remarkably sharp.
Hey, all.
It's late at night. Okay.
Right.
You're remarkably sharp.
Yeah.
Pick that up 20 minutes before your bed.